Well, Alex, I am so glad to have you. Alex Doucet, my niece, my brother's second daughter, and you have truly been on a wild journey. And I just wanted to share with other people and have you hear of all the things that God is doing in and through you, and how our whole family has just been celebrating the God in you, and more importantly, of just to see your growth has been overwhelming as an aunt, and your faith has just been so big for our whole community. I feel like so many people have followed you and to really see the journey, and so I'm excited today to really hear a broad spectrum of your journey in one sitting, So
Right.
like, I'm just excited that we've been talking about this for a long
We
time,
have, I know.
but to really be here today.
We're here. We're doing it.
And I'm really, really excited. And at this season, it's the right season and the right time. And so at 25, your whole life changed. And so tell me a little bit how that started.
So I got pregnant at 21 years old, and we got married around, I was 23, 24. Then we had another baby when I was 24. So then the diagnosis at 25, being in a new marriage, still trying to figure it out, still learning each other, and then getting that diagnosis, and then having to put our vows into play and not really knowing each other, that was tough, to say the absolute least. My faith, I mean, you know how I grew up.
Yeah.
I've always known of the Lord, but more so lived it through y'all, lived it through my family's faith. So knowing of the Lord and having a personal relationship with the Lord, I didn't have that. So whenever I did get diagnosed, I do feel like I fell, like I'm like, oh, God, let me talk to you now. It was one of those situations. So my faith, in that very moment, I knew to revert back to the Lord. But that wasn't the case for the family, the whole family too. And getting diagnosed and not having just like super strong spiritual people all around in your life, that was very, very tough. So yeah, I got diagnosed at 25 years old.
And what was the diagnosis?
It was stage 2 invasive ductal carcinoma is what they called it. I found the lump on my own. It was right in the middle of my sternum. It just felt like a bone, to be honest. I didn't know. I didn't expect it. But yeah, so we had a 3 and a 1-year-old, and I was just laying in bed one day, and I felt what felt like a bone in my chest. So I had Cade come feel it, and he's like, just call your doctor, like very nonchalantly. This was on a weekend. He's like, just call him on the Monday. And I did. I did a self-exam, and then that's whenever he felt 2 or 3 other masses in my left breast. So from there, it was just appointments after that. They scheduled an ultrasound. From there, we went to a biopsy.
Wow.
And then whenever I got a phone call from my oncologist on his cell phone and I missed the phone call, that's whenever I'm like, my heart literally sunk in that moment. So I called him back, and it was Dr. James Brown in Lake Charles. He was so calm. And he's like, Alex, he's like, you have, the biopsy is back, the results are back, and you do, in fact, have breast cancer. And then in the same breath, he's like, I'm going to forward all your information to MD Anderson. They're going to get you set up. You're going to start having appointments. Are you okay? Kind of thing. And I'm like, I think my hearing went out, to be honest. Like, I just had so much going on. In that moment, I was just shook. And Kate and I, we did have problems in our marriage, being young in marriage. And so, yeah, that's whenever the fear sunk in. I think for him more so than me, the fear sunk in, the anger sunk in, and it, from there, it was just like back to back. I think we had a 3-week waiting period before even going to MD Anderson. So the 3 weeks of you're diagnosed, this is what you have going on, but now sit and wait with it for 3 weeks. So that was probably the hardest part, is waiting for results and then the waiting period just to find out what's really going on. So, and then having a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old at the time and not a strong marriage.
So when you're hearing this and the planning of going to the doctor, what are you going to do, and the whole process with that, where were you spiritually? Like, did you lean on the Lord? Did you mad at God? Like, where were you?
I never got mad at God. My faith wasn't shaken, but to be honest, I had very minor faith anyways. It was very lukewarm. It was just like, I grew up going to church. That's what we did. And that was it. Like, cultural Christian is what I've heard it called. Just go to church on Sunday and that's it. So in that moment, I did get diagnosed. Of course, like, I started listening to worship music. I'm like, okay, we should for real go to church on Sundays now,
Yeah.
So that's when we started going back to church. And we didn't go every Sunday. I didn't go on Wednesday nights. So my prayer life, I knew how to pray, but there was no personal relationship.
Wow.
So in that moment, like, trying to figure it out after the diagnosis was what I had to do.
How long was that process? Like, even once you got to MD Anderson, what happened after that?
So we went to MD Anderson. They, of course, every test that I did in Lake Charles, they wanted to repeat.
Right.
So it was more MRIs, more CT scans, more needle biopsies. There was like an MRI needle biopsy. So, all the testing. They wanted to repeat everything. And long appointments. No appointment was on time. The stress from that. Financially, we weren't stable. So I was very blessed. I worked at the sheriff's office at the time. And I have never had to pay a dime toward medical with the coverage that we had there.
What a miracle.
So that's
a miracle.
Yeah, yes. And I was 25 at the time, so I just so happened to be covered on my mom's plan. So I wasn't, I didn't have my own plan. I was just a secondary on my mom's, which I'm very thankful for. But, the finances came into play. You're having to do hotel rooms and, everything, the food, everything costs. So, it started the testing. And then I'll never forget, it was me, Kate, and my mom were sitting in the doctor's office whenever he set us down to let me know that it is, in fact, cancer. I think there was 7 masses and not just the 2 or 3 that we thought. So I'm being told stage 2, but there's 7 masses in my left breast. So from there, they did genetic testing. Because I had benign in my right, they were going to proceed they said, let's do 6 rounds of chemo, and then we're going to do a double mastectomy. And then we're going to proceed with radiation. You'll have 30 rounds of radiation.
Wow.
But they're like, let's just, start with chemo first. So that was once every 3 weeks for 6 months was the chemo regimen. And I want to say after like my very first round, I started losing my hair. And as a 25-year-old girl with 2 small kids and still trying to figure out who I am.
Yeah.
And, so that was hard. I think the emotional and the mental side of it was what I wasn't prepared for because my spirituality, I wasn't in line with the Lord at that time.
What would you say that, like, after going over there, having the surgery, being post-surgery after the double mastectomy, being there, when you're laying in that bed at night, what was on your mind?
First of all, because my marriage was so rocky, I was nervous. I didn't want him to leave me in that moment. Like, I have no hair. I just lost my breast. And and you hear of people, like, their husbands leave them when they get diagnosed, or a wife will leave their husband. So because we were so new to it, my first thought was, first of all, am I going to live?
Yeah.
You don't know. It's just so unknown. It's the unknown that it just is scary. And then you don't want your husband to leave you. And just it's the unknown. Just not knowing like the next step. I was scared. There was definitely fear there. And just so much going through my mind.
Did you find that through this whole process, did you find that you grew spiritually, or did you feel like it was still a young faith? Like, did you feel like you really matured and leaned on the Lord through this process, or you feel like you were just trying to make it?
I was literally just trying to make it. I'm a very go with the flow kind of person anyways. So I feel like that's what I leaned on, was just my nonchalant personality, go with the flow. I would sing, some worship songs here and there. We'd pray for our food and at, bedtime, and that was it. Like, and it was more so, Lord, heal me. Lord, heal me. Why are you not healing me? It's still, it's still going on. It was more of that. It was not. When I got diagnosed at the end of 2016, I think I finished treatment around 2018 or 19.
Okay.
With all the surgeries that I had and everything. So it was more just go with the flow, childlike faith for sure.
Okay. So past that, you've already done all the treatment. You're on the backside. How long of the time span was there before you started feeling some things were different and you went back to the doctor?
I did a lot of maintenance therapy in between. They were doing like ovarian suppression shots on me. They were, I had all kinds of immunotherapy going on. So still having to go through treatment 4 and 5 years after. And then once I made it to the 4 and 5 year mark, they're like, oh, you did so good. Let's extend it for 5 more years. And I was miserable. I was completely miserable on all the treatment and the therapies that they had me on. So, yeah, it wasn't until just like 2 years ago is whenever it really clicked for me.
Wow. So during this whole process, so tell me about, did you feel like something was off? The reason why you went back and where they gave you, that said that the cancer's back, basically. And so in that process of that, were you not feeling good that made you think that it could be back?
Yes. So in the end of 2022, I started having excruciating back pain. Like, and I work out. Like, I worked out, but in that season of life, I was not working out hard. I wasn't running a lot. I did nothing for my back to hurt, and I knew something was off. So my back started hurting really, really bad. So I actually went to one of my girlfriend, Courtney Ellis now, but she was a physical therapist, and I texted her, and I was like crying. I was texting her, and I'm like, Courtney, I need you. Like, I need you right now. So she did. She fit me in. She brought me in with no appointment. She just stuck me in a closet, and she would do the neat. She stuck me in a closet, so like a storage room, and she would do the dry needling on me, and her and I would talk, and she's like, Alex, I don't really know what I'm treating. I don't really know, but I know where you're telling me it hurts, so that's where what I'm gonna do. And she did. I think she did it like 2 or 3 different times, and then it was so bad that I would be laying in bed at night, and I would have to wake Kate up to just scoop me over because I was about to fall off the bed. Like, I couldn't physically move myself. And I'm 32. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I didn't do anything to hurt myself. So I did the dry needling, and that's whenever I was like, I need an MRI. I need to get scanned. Courtney's like, what am I treating? I need you to go get a scan. So I at this time, I had my gynecologist who diagnosed me. I had MD Anderson who does my treatment, and I hadn't seen him in years. And then, so I didn't even have a family doctor. So they're like, first step is get set up with a family doctor. So I did, and they did an x-ray and showed nothing. And they're like, go back to physical therapy, 6 more weeks. This is what you have to do, and let me know after the 6 weeks. So I go back to Courtney, and she's like, what am I treating? She's like, I don't know. Like, I need you to get an MRI. So I begged for an MRI. Like, I had to beg for it. So finally they got the MRI scan. I think this is like in like March probably. So it's been like 3-4 months of pain. Finally they did the MRI, and they called me that afternoon. It was a doctor in town. She called me and was like, hey, it's 6:30 p.m. And I'm like, well, that's not good. So she calls me in to the office. She's like, can you please be here, or I can come meet you somewhere? I'm like, Lord help me. So Cade and I were actually getting ready to go to a birthday dinner. So him and I drove down to Moss Bluff, to the little clinic, and she had the lights off. We had lamps lit. We had like aromatherapy. It was a very calm environment. And I'm like, I already know something's wrong. Like, and not to be negative, but like I just know, I know my body. So we sat down, and that's whenever she's like, you have metastatic breast cancer. It is now in your L4, L5 area. And in that moment, like, it was so weird because I thought that I would have broke down. Cade went numb. And I just was like, I knew it. I knew something was off. I just knew it. And she's bawling, crying. And because she don't know me, like, she feels so bad. She's bawling, crying. And I'm like, tat-tatting her. I'm like, it's going to be okay. Like, we're going to be fine. And that's just my personality. It's just very nonchalant and go with the flow. So, yeah. So from there, papers were referred back to MD Anderson. And another 3-week wait. And in that 3-week wait, shook. Like, of course, reverted. Now I'm like, okay, now, Lord, now I'm going to talk to you. Now I'm going to pray.
For real.
I'm going to be for real this time. And my kids are, I think they were 10 and 8 at the time of this diagnosis, or maybe 9 and 7. Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to be for real this time. But the 3 weeks, it hit hard. And I'm trying to go to work. I'm trying to be as normal as possible. Whew. Like, marital struggles were still there.
And you're in pain.
Oh, yeah.
And you're in a lot of pain.
I am in so much pain.
Because the first time you really weren't in that pain.
Oh, yeah, I had no pain.
Right.
Yeah, so this time I'm in so much pain. And it's like, do you take pain pills? Do you, like, what can numb me and just make me just chill for 3 weeks just to get there? And I'm praying. And, of course, like, my prayer life, I'm like, heal me, heal. Like, you know, I don't even know what to ask for. I'm just asking for him to heal me.
Yeah.
And, that was a long journey in itself.
I noticed this time that you really opened up on social media. So you were really sharing more of your journey. And so tell me what the community did for you.
Oh, my goodness. That makes me so emotional.
I know.
So let me start with saying, so this time it was back in my spine. They did one 40-minute radiation scan to my lower back, and then they proceeded with 6 rounds of chemo. In between my 5th and 6th round of chemo, it's not working. It's spreading to my tailbone and my hip area. So I'm like, I'm going through chemo, and I'm doing the exact same chemo regimen that I was on before when it worked, years ago. So whenever it started spreading, and when I have a local oncologist and a Houston oncologist, when they started, like, one's like, let's just do a 7th and 8th round, and whenever the other one's like, no, let's change medicines, it's not working. When they started having, like, when they weren't agreeing, I'm like, red flag. I'm like, what is really going on? So in the meantime, that's whenever I went to go see Dr. Kyle Daigle. One of my girlfriends from high school referred me to him. She was misdiagnosed with MS and went through a whole mold exposure exam. So she referred me to Dr. Kyle Daigle in Lake Charles. So whenever I went to him, he was able to confirm that it was mold. So he actually referred...
Was the source.
Yes, mold was the source. There was a lot of inflammation in my body, a lot of sinus issues. And he's like, Alex, my mom had breast cancer and was able to heal. And I think she's been in remission for 8 years with no treatment at all. Wow. And he's like, the same things that you went through, MD Anderson also told her to do. He's like, so can I please just refer you to a place in Mexico? It's like a holistic integrative medicine. It's called Hope for Cancer. He's like, call, you can do a free phone consultation, and they'll tell you today whether they can take you and the cost. I'm like, okay, perfect. So a few weeks went by, and I actually didn't call them. And then finally, my little sister Bailey actually was like, call them. Yeah. Call them. The chemo's not working. Let's call them. So we did, and they quoted me, I think it was $45,000 or $41,000.
And not insurance.
They don't take insurance. Yeah. Insurance does not cover anything holistic. So they were like, and you have to pay up front. We do have an opening September 5th through the 27th, and this was the year 2023. So they're like, this is what we can do for you. We can absolutely treat you, ready for you. So in this time, I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to, I don't have that money. So my parents were actually going to take out like a retirement loan, or they were going to figure out how to get me there. And, of course, I went home and talked to Kate about it, and we agreed, like, this is absolutely what I want to do. So, so my community, to answer your question, we do an Incredible tournament every single year, and the profits actually go to someone in the community that needs help, or, a kid's diagnosed with something, or a wreck, or just anything. So in 2016, whenever I first got diagnosed, they had actually called me and asked me if I could be the recipient, and I turned them down. I'm like, no. I was like, give it to somebody else. Like, we're good. Everything was paid for. I had Aflac. Like, I don't need it. So when they called Cade, actually, a guy, Chad Huber, actually called Cade and was like, hey, we want Alex to be the recipient of this year. And he's like, no, we're good. We're like just being humble. Like, no, we're fine. We don't need it. And he's like, no. He's like, I want her to, she's gonna. Like, no's not an answer. I'm just being respectful to call you. So, yes, they put on an Incredible tournament that we do every year, the end of August. The amount of support, we had an auctioneer there. Like, they do a silent auction and also a live auction. They had an auctioneer there, and everyone is classes like 1997 all the way to, like, the current year. Right. Like, 2023 class.
So, it's your high school.
It's the whole entire same Houston High School tournament. And, so all the proceeds was going to go to me that year. So they got together out of everything, you know, all the admissions and concession stand, everything. They raised $61,000 for me to. I know, I get so emotional.
That is unbelievable.
I know. So,
but even outside of the large amount of money that was raised, I think was so beautiful. It was you were sharing your journey on social media, and so people were really following you, and they felt they were vested, not just financially, but in your prayers and covering you and being a blessing for you and your family.
They were going through it with you, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And you allow them to go on that journey with you. And then on top of it, and even when you went to Cancun, you know, it was the same thing. So they got to be a part of that as well.
Absolutely. And yes, and I feel like the first time, I don't want to say I isolated, but just being young and having young kids and new to marriage, there was a little isolation there. You know, I was partying at that time, so I didn't get invited to the parties, and my friend group kind of like grew away from me because I'm sick. Who wants to invite someone who doesn't feel good, you know? So I didn't, you know, there was a step back from my friend group. So this time, there was like a certain confidence there, and maybe absolutely because my prayer life was better, and I just felt led to share. And you know me, I'm a very open person anyways. I'm a wide open book, but for some reason, I just felt led to share. And you know, it's cancer and just any diagnosis or struggle, it's not talked about enough, I feel. And like even marital struggles, like I feel led to talk about that too, because it's just not talked about, and it's just so normal. So I
agree. And so when you got back the proceeds, which was amazing because they shared all the things that they wanted you to continue doing. So with the excess of money, you were able to buy those equipments and the right water system and all the different things. So God is so good when He's more than enough.
Oh, more than
enough.
He did not just cover the cost. It was all the therapies that I had to buy after, all the supplements that I needed to buy, and you know, like to continue my health. Because you don't just go to Mexico for 3 weeks and get healed. Like you got the hard work is when you get home.
Right.
And absolutely, those were all needed.
So I want to, with all that sharing, and that's just like by a fire hose, like the quick version of it. But I just wanted to, a little bit spiritually, where do you feel the difference between spiritually from the first diagnosis to the second bad report, and now you're post Cancun and your treatment? I felt like on top of going through some very tragic things in your family, where do you feel like now spiritually the difference between the first time and the second time? Where do you feel like where you are spiritually?
Just now knowing that spiritual warfare is real it made the world of a difference. Just to know that, like, it's spiritual warfare. You know what I mean? And you have to pray against it. And just as we need to know God's promises, we also need to know the tactics of the enemy and how to combat that. So having learned that, and it's, you know, it's over time. Like, I'm very new to this. It's only been like since 2023, like the very end of it, and even more so now. So it's something I'm still learning, and you know, reading the Bible, getting in the Word. I don't like to read. Like I'm not a reader. So that has been challenging to, you know, to stay in it. And it's a every single day dying to flesh type of thing. So yeah, that's just absolutely spiritual. Knowing that spiritual warfare is real. And then, you know, what our family's been through in that same year in 2023. So just knowing how to pray against it, and then knowing how to cover my family in prayers also has been the world of a difference.
So I really see that the difference between knowing something and really walking and applying it.
Yes.
To really, really walk in the authority that God has given us, to believe His word is true, to trust Him. And I feel like that is the real journey. And I feel like talking through this process, of your own healing, your healing journey, but it was also your spiritual journey of learning really who is God. You know, healing is not just what he does, he is healing.
Right.
And it's just not about all the outcomes. He is good. No matter what an outcome is, he's still good. And I
He's
feel
the same God.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's been so beautiful to watch. Instead of just thinking I'll go to church and I'll come home, but it's a lifestyle,
Right.
and a lifestyle of worship. It's how you live each and every day, not just you lifting your hands through a powerful worship song
Right.
in church. You know what I mean? It's a lifestyle, and I feel like that's what I've been watching you adapt. You know what I mean? Of growing and learning, and really who is the Lord. And so I wanted you to really, if someone and I know you get a lot of people come to you asking about holistic treatments, or they ask you about a lot of things, but also just about the journey. You know, they just want to hear your testimony of what has God done. And I think that's the bigger story, right? But one thing, if someone was fighting for their life, like they're fighting for their life, and they say, Alex, what could you tell me right now? What would that be?
To fully surrender every single area of your life. He's a jealous God, and he doesn't just want your health. He doesn't just want your marriage. He wants every single area of your life. And whenever I finally understood that, fully surrendering to him and changing your prayers too, like don't just cry out for healing, because you have to lean into them. And it was whenever I finally was like, Lord, I'm not even going to pray for healing in this moment. Just how do you want to use me? Just use me. And just being so vulnerable. And at this time, I could feel him working in me, and I just didn't know what to do. But just to fully change my prayers, and I encourage anybody else to change your prayers and don't just cry out for healing. Cry, what is he trying to tell you? Because absolutely everything, like I am so thankful for the diagnosis. And I know that sounds so weird to some people, but like being diagnosed the very first time, nothing changed in my life. And it maybe did temporary, but then I went back to how I was living. Like I fully had to change my friend group, and I had to change the movies I was watching, the music I was watching. I struggle with lust, and a lot of people don't know that about me, but that's just something that I struggle with. And the movies and the music that I listened to absolutely had a factor in that. So just having to completely die to self and understanding what that fully meant, and fully surrendering to him, and just continue praying and understanding prayer really does work. To fully just understand the power of prayer and understand that if he says it, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
So that was big for me.
I think that's transformational. I mean, and that's what it's about. And so many times I figure that we don't really learn this so much in church. I feel like how much God is about the process. And that's what I'm hearing. You know, God is in the process of molding and shaping. And so many times we just want the outcome. But the process is where the real beauty is, where the beauty, you know, from the ashes. That's where you grow and you evolve. So what I'm hearing, what you're saying, I just wanted you to reiterate. So you definitely don't want to relive any of this, but do you feel like that you're a better person because you've walked through it?
100%. And just fully, like, I fully believe that I am healed. Even though, and I haven't even touched on that. I went to Faith Walk a few months ago, and I actually had got a report on it. This is what I'm talking about with spiritual warfare. I'm changing my life. I'm trying to be better. I'm a Sunday school teacher now. Like, I'm just trying to be better and be more plugged into the church. And I was going to Faith Walk, and that you leave on a Thursday. Tuesday, I actually got a phone call from my doctor, because I was getting every scans every 3 months. They told me that the cancer was looking suspicious again. And my doctor, the things that my doctors have told me, it's not if you get cancer again, it's when. And all these things, like just hearing it over and over, and just to know that once it's metastatic, that's stage 4. And when you hear stage 4, you're like, I'm dying. Like, and you believe it. And the doctors, they just reiterate it over and over, and they make you feel like you need them in order to be alive. So to fully, like, whenever I was going to Faith Walk, when they announced that the cancer looked suspicious and it's going up my spine, I'm like, the devil, you are a liar. Like I am healed, and I know that God has already told me that, and I felt it, and He's done it before, and yeah.
So there's a real battle in the medical world of needing them for your treatments, okay? And the things that, and not all of them say these things, but some of them say really harsh things. And but then you have this battle of you're standing in faith and what the Word says.
That is a battle.
I've always heard this, and I use it quite often, is those may be facts, but that's not the truth.
Right.
The truth is the Word of God, and those may be facts from your knowledge and your test, but I'm going to believe the Word of God. Right. And so that's where it becomes and outside of spiritual, it becomes a very mental battle. And so to really walk through the fire, you have to be strong, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And you have to be in unison. And sometimes even in your own friends and family aren't speaking the same. So you're really having to fight for your mind in the midst of everything.
The mental part of it, 2023, 2024, if it's taught me anything, the mental side of it, and having positive people in your life.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's your own, the anxiety kicks in and the fear kicks in for everybody.
Absolutely.
It's not me going through it. Everybody else is going through it with me, especially my family. We're all so close.
Yeah.
So people like me knowing fully that I am healed. And then, people are like, but keep getting scanned.
Yeah.
Please keep seeking treatment. And it's like, no, I'm very white or black. I'm either healed or I'm not. And I believe that I am fully healed.
Yeah.
And it's nothing against doctors. I love doctors. Where they're absolutely needed.
Yes.
I saw them in Mexico, but like you said, and I absolutely want to encourage anybody, find a doctor that fits you. I didn't realize patient rights, you don't have to stick with a doctor. And I had been with this doctor for 8 to 9 years. So it's almost like we've been through so much together. I just want to keep them, but I don't have to. Yeah. I can absolutely go see somebody else. And knowing what I know now, I would have done that, and I would have probably had a better experience.
Yeah.
But yes, doctors absolutely can speak so much death into you, and then subconsciously you can believe it, and then you live it. Because whenever I got healed, so after Mexico and I had got home, I was home for 2 or 3 weeks, and that's whenever I got rescanned. And then they announced that the cancer appeared as scar tissue, and it was dormant. Yeah. And then he was not excited that it was dormant. He was more upset that I didn't go to my 6th and 7th round of chemo, or my 7th and 8th round of chemo. So that's another red flag for me. I'm like, he's like, where were you? Wow. Why didn't you do your 7th and 8th round? I'm like, what does the paper say? Am I clear? He's like, but where were you? Why didn't you come? You didn't finish your treatment. And it's one of those, I'm like, and I had read the scripture, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. Yeah. And that's whenever I'm like, it's just so spiritual. Yeah. And that's whenever I'm like, and nothing against him. He's just doing his job. But that's it's but I'm healed. Yeah. I'm clear, So that was a big issue.
And I think that's what I love, that the difference between what you're going through and what you're going to believe. And so that's where, like we were talking about, the real battle in your mind is, what am I going to partner with? Right. Because they're screaming this over here and this over here, then we have our own feelings and emotions, but you have to make a decision. And I always say this, the enemy is so militant. Yeah. And it's like when you're in your crossroad, what do you believe and what are you going to do about it? And it's like taunting you and mocking you, and you have to make a decision of what am I going to stand on? Right. And that's where that mental strength and you can't do it in your own. I don't care how strong you are or how whatever in your own oomph inside of you, it's only God that can give you that supernatural peace and that supernatural strength to stand in the face of adversity when everything is so loud and screaming and demanding you to make a decision.
Oh, right now.
Right now.
It's life or death right now.
That's
you need to make a decision.
And but you have to know that you know, and that you're hearing from God. And then you are going to you'll make that decision and stand. And I feel like there's a lot of people in life, whether they're going through cancer or whether they're going through anything in their life, that they're at that crossroad. And there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of demands being put on them. And I'd like for you to look in that camera right there, and I'd like for you just to speak to them and to encourage them, no matter what they're going through. When everything is so hard and all these expectations on you, how for them to stand and trust the Lord.
So prayer absolutely works, and having positive people in your life absolutely matter. So to fully surrender to God, you can't just say that. You have to absolutely do it. Because, I mean, he knows all of our thoughts. He knows everything about us. So when you fully, just be vulnerable. When you're fully vulnerable with him and just give him every single area, where there's God, there's no darkness. So everything's going to get exposed. Every sin that you have is going to get exposed, but there's so much freedom in that. And just walk in that. Just be so confident and walk in that, and ask him for that. Ask him, like the promises that he said in the Bible, ask him for that. Be confident in that. But you have to know the word and know what it says and know what he promised us in order to walk that out also.
I love that, Alex. I just thank you so much for being so real, so vulnerable, and to let us just have a sneak peek into your world. I know that I share this all the time, even with my own testimony. I feel like I can never give you the depth. Like, I can tell the story a million times. I can never take you into that room. I can never take you into my head, into my heart. I can never get there in words and expression. And but that's so good that God has been there and he's been with you along the journey. But more importantly, I think he's really fanned the flame and he set you on fire to run with the word in your mouth of hope and strength and peace and healing. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful to see your journey and what God is doing. And it's just the beginning.
It is.
Thank you.
So excited. Thank you.